Hello and welcome to the monthly Facebook Live of Will's fifth quarter special. It's the month of June. It's obviously a little overdue. It's June 29th here, as I can see at the bottom of my screen. But the best for last, as they say. I thought I'd reschedule it to a good spot at the end of the month. So I'm your host, Will Farlow from Will's fifth quarter special. We had an exciting week in sports this past week, as well as earlier this week. There's a lot going on, so we're gonna keep you up to speed here, and feel free to leave your comments as you come viewing this live video, and please leave your sports questions, various thoughts about maybe the NBA draft. I'm going to recap that and just various topics going on. So can't wait to hear what everyone has to say, and we're going to get started. So we're going to start with a recap of the NBA draft that took place last week at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. And I'm sure you guys heard episode 13 last week. It was really exciting, and I'm going to let you guys in a little bit on how I put this one together. It was probably the most interesting approach I took to putting this, episode 13 together. And I've learned in my field, you guys know I'm a broadcaster that's still new to his field and continuing to grow. I made some phone calls, and there's somebody I connected to as a professional contact out of the many I'm grateful to have out of the Chicago sports broadcasters and reporters and so forth. David Haw from the Chicago Tribune. I asked him personally and professionally if he'd be a guest on the podcast episode. After having somebody as great as Dan Muller back in episode 8 and Mark Grody in episode 12 talking about the Bears, I wanted to have two great interviews. And oddly enough, you got a lot of the listeners won't know this because I didn't really share it on the social media or, after the episode was out, but I was pretty close to it. I talked to the agent of Michael Porter Jr., because he was rumored to be taken by the Bulls possibly. Fans wanted him to go there. So I almost got an interview with him for the podcast episode. But having guys like Mark Chanowski and David Hall on last week's episode, along with somebody who is like a big brother to me. He lives 2 houses away from me for years, since I was 4. Mr. Alex Stoner. It was great to have him on as a guest co-host again. And it was a great episode. I know Alex and I had a lot of fun pre-recording, guys, and that's the beauty of this show. It's just not just talking sports, but having fun doing it, and I love doing it. 13 episodes later, this point in this summer already, just reflecting on where it started in December. It's wonderful to see where it's come. And I see we have two viewers right now, Mitchell Barnum and Mr. Tommy Botkin from good old Lance Forward. Shout out to my old summer job. So, guys, pleasure to have you here on the episode. Feel free to throw out a comment. Tommy, we're going to talk a little Cubs baseball with the Sox down the road. So, same with Mitchell. You guys have any comments or thoughts about what's going on in sports right now? The NBA free agency starting. The question a lot of people are wondering, where is LeBron James going to go? And just to continue, though, with the Bulls talk, though, picks 7 and 22. Now, there was a rumor out, as I mentioned in the episode. Well, I mentioned it in the episode 13. There was a rumor that the Chicago Bulls were going to try and trade up in the draft. Now, it's kind of hard to always determine what's a true rumor and what's just a rumor that someone puts out there, that somebody just puts out there. So it was really interesting. I thought it was really smart, though, by Gar Forman and John Paxson. This is what I hoped they were going to do in the end as well. That afternoon before the draft on that Thursday, I wanted to see them keep the 2 picks because you can get 2 quality players. You need a wing player and a big man, and they did that. Now, at pick 7, we didn't know what was going to happen, but I was on the edge of my seat there, as at pick 6, the Orlando Magic, after the Dallas Mavericks and Atlanta Hawks swapped 3 and 5, 3 going to Luka Doncic for Dallas, and the Atlanta Hawks getting Trae Young, their point guard of the future. And at pick 6, Mo Bamba. And that was kind of surprising because a lot of people had him going at 5 to Dallas maybe, or but Orlando's really shoring up that front court, with Aaron Gordon becoming a restricted free agent pretty soon. He's going to have a lot of other suitors that want to sign him as well. So that leaves the Magic a good backup plan there. But at number 7, the Bulls took somebody I didn't know. I knew a little bit about. I didn't know where he was going to go in the draft, but he was still at number 7. I thought this guy is going to be really great at the Bulls. It's Wendell Carter Jr., the center from the University of Duke. And that's a really good situation he's coming into in Chicago. He's going to have Robin Lopez above him currently, and you have Larry Markkinen at the power forward position. And at pick 22, we didn't know what was going to happen. Dante DiVincenzo goes at 17, but it was really interesting, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree with me. Michael Porter Jr. is slipping to 14. And, the Bulls have a lot of assets, where they can sustain their rebuild in its current state and, maybe trade up off a player or two with the 22 pick to move up to maybe 14 had they wanted to pick Michael Porter Jr., as a lot of fans hoped they would. But they made the pick that they promised the player at 22, Mr. Chandler Hutchison from Boise State University. He was the 22nd overall pick in the NBA draft for the Chicago Bulls. So just watching that press conference a few days later with Gar Forman, John Paxson, Fred Hoiberg, and the new Chicago Bulls, who as well, Wendell Carter Jr. will be keeping his college number 34 as a Chicago Bull, and Chandler Hutchison will be sporting number 15. So it's really exciting to see where this team's going to come. And I'm just looking here on my notes for the episode here of the Facebook Live here. There's a lot of interesting developments in Chicago Bulls free agency as well. Free agency is always going to be crazy, and it starts July 1st, if you're just hearing about it here, folks, at 11 p.m., midnight, 12 a.m. Eastern time on July 1st. LeBron, Paul George, restricted free agent Zach LaVine and Rodney Hood, and various other restricted and unrestricted free agents will hit the market, where the NBA teams will have their chance to try and send an offer sheet to a restricted free agent or sign the unrestricted free agent that they feel could put their team to the next level. And that's something we're going to talk about here at the Chicago Bulls as well in the free agent market. They fulfilled some needs, but Gar Forman and John Paxson talked about how they're going to have a really smart approach to it, which I think is really good. And just looking at it right now, we're seeing a lot of reports that the Bulls and the Pacers, along with the Cleveland Cavaliers, are the current contenders earlier on in the pre-free agency party before it begins for Cleveland Cavalier restricted free agent Rodney Hood, the 25-year-old wingman that was part of the trade exodus frenzy that Cleveland took part in from the trade deadline. And I think Rodney Hood, if the Bulls are able to get him and still bring back Zach LaVine, that's the situation I would like if you're the Chicago Bulls right now. You have a guy that could start at small forward still in Denzel Valentine, Chandler Hutchison. We don't know if he's going to be a starter just yet. He's going to probably they're going to probably give him and Wendell Carter Jr. some time to develop with the team and into Fred Hoiberg's system and the NBA as well. So I think Rodney Hood, with his age, they talked about the Bulls wanting to get him at the trade deadline as well earlier on in the season. So I think Gar and Pax are going to they're going to lock up Zach LaVine. I think, in my opinion, that is priority number one. You want to give him a nice 4 or 5 year deal, 3 to 4 year deal at least, to lock him up for the future and show him, hey, we're committed to you since that trade. We've seen you do really well from the recovery of your ACL injury that you had, and you're going to be a really important piece to our team. So, and they mentioned that before in various press conferences, like when they were introing Wendell Carter Jr. and Chandler Hutchison. So I think Rodney Hood, in my opinion, would be a great starting small forward. If you have a lineup of Robin Lopez or Wendell Carter at center, Larry at the power forward position, Rodney Hood at the 3 spot, Zach LaVine at the 2, and Chris Dunn at the 1 at point, that's a really good starting 5 for the future for this team. And just looking at some of the other reports, the Bulls are obviously going to be going a lot of interesting directions here. They are also send a qualifying offer to David Nwaba as well as Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine has a suitor as well, the Sacramento Kings. I don't see them as much as a threat. They have Buddy Hield, who they're pretty comfortable with, along with De'Aaron Fox. They just drafted Marvin Bagley III, so I don't really think they have a big need for Zach LaVine. If they did, they might want to trade a Buddy Hield, but we haven't seen that come up from their team or front office, so we'll have to see what's going on there. So, but Zach LaVine's going to be a Chicago Bull in the end. I agree. I think it would take something really big that we haven't heard about in the media to change that. So, just looking at some of the other speculation here, the Chicago Bulls, according to Gary Wolfel, and this was tweeted just a few hours ago by Daniel Greenberg of Chai Sports Updates. The Bulls are one of the teams that have surfaced as a potential landing spot for Chicago native Jabari Parker, and the Bulls are also one of 4 teams, along with the Pacers, the Orlando Magic, and the Oklahoma City Thunder, to try and bring the brother of Jeremy Grant, free agent Jeremy Grant, the 24-year-old power forward who averaged 8.4 points per game and 3.9 rebounds. So, Grandma, good to see you. We'll be talking about our White Sox pretty soon, so hope you'll stay on for that. Love you very much, Graham. And I promised him a shout-out here. It is my co-worker at the Lansing Journal. As I mentioned, I work at a newspaper back in my hometown, Lansing, for the summer, Mr. Ernest Pierre. So, Ernest, good to have you on the show. Feel free to leave a comment or thought about the Chicago Bulls and free agency or how their rebuild's going. We're going to talk about our White Sox here in a minute, which we're going to keep you posted here on Will's Fifth Quarter Special about various topics pertaining to the Chicago Bulls. We're going to talk a little bit down the road here about the offseason update of the Chicago Bears. But now we're going to get into my favorite team in sports, the Chicago White Sox. And the White Sox, they're just doing a really good job so far. I actually got to go to one of their games. They closed out a 3-game series against the Minnesota Twins this past week. I got to go with my sister Claire to the game on Polish Heritage Night, which was really cool. They had a really cool Polish Heritage dance on the field, and it was just beautiful weather. You know, we had that big rain storm situation the other day, and it's like, okay, what's going on here? You know, no one expected this rain, and no one likes to see rain. So, you know, I wondered how that was going to happen, you know, the next day. You know, games could get postponed or rescheduled. And I ended up going into the stadium, you know, like any other game. You love the game, you love the atmosphere, and it was a lot of fun. They had an NBC Sports Chicago Authentic Fan Night stand there. So, you know, I got to meet Luke Stuckmeyer, who is now a follower of the Twitter page on the show. So, Mr. Stuckmeyer, if you're hearing this, thank you for giving us a follow. We appreciate that. And along with somebody I hope will be a guest appearance, a planned interview in the future this summer, Sierra Santos, who is one of the main reporters covering the Chicago White Sox and does a lot of great work for NBC Sports Chicago as well. So they played really great that game, came out with a 6-1 victory, and they're getting ready tonight to play the Texas Rangers in Arlington, Texas, a beautiful stadium there in Arlington. Even though they do have rumors that they're planning to tear it down and build a new stadium. But the White Sox, now with a record of 28-52, will be hosted by the 36-46 Texas Rangers. Going on the mound tonight for the Chicago White Sox is Dylan Covey, who's had a very improved season this year, in my opinion. You know, they talked about as well a month ago even, he might fit into the rebuild. You know, we're still getting through year 2 right now of possible 3 or 4 years, hopefully 3. But we're going to see how that, you know, will change. A lot of things can change. That's the beauty of the game. And Jose Abreu is one of the team leaders coming into the game tonight. He has a .271 batting average. And on the side for Texas, their team leader in batting average is Sin-Soo Choo. There's 2 players tied at 13 home runs for the Chicago White Sox, leading in home runs coming into tonight's matchup. And the Texas Rangers, they're playing pretty well so far. And, you know, they have 10 games under 500. And in the West Coast Division, you have the Angels over there. You have the Mariners who are having a pretty good season. Jerry DiPoto is making the moves for his team so far. And Houston, of course. So there's a lot of interesting matchups to come for Texas. And I think the Chicago White Sox can try and put a stop to what Texas is trying to accomplish. You know, put a loss in that column for Texas. And just looking at the game notes here, it's going to be a really interesting pitching duel as well, because for the Texas Rangers, and This is a guy back when he was in the Milwaukee Brewers organization. I thought he was a really key part of that rotation, but we saw him get traded around here or there. Your Vani Gallardo, the right-handed pitcher, comes in with a 1-0 record, a 12.08 ERA, and 9 strikeouts. Dylan Covey is 3-2 on the year for the Southsiders, 3.45 ERA and 36 strikeouts. Gallardo, it mentions, is coming off a 9-6 victory over the Twins this past Saturday. And Dylan Covey left his last start early with soreness in his hip and groin areas, but got through his Tuesday bullpen session without any problems. So just looking at the hitting order for the Southsiders tonight, it'll be Yoan Moncada, the second baseman of the future, leading it off. Avi Garcia, fresh off the DL. He's had 3 home runs in the last week or so. He'll be batting second. Jose Abreu, the hopeful starter for the American League All-Stars at first base. Batting fourth, the designated hitter Daniel Palka, who has 7 home runs so far in his first season of Major League Baseball. Kevin Smith will be manning the catching position at the 5 spot. Rui Garcia batting 6 and playing third today. For Young Sanchez, who had birthday, we're going to send a special happy birthday to White Sox infielder Yomer Sanchez. My favorite White Sox player of all time in the current team, Mr. Tim Anderson, manning the shortstop position tonight and batting 7th. And batting 8th, the Illinois native Charlie Tilson and playing left. And Adam Engel playing center field. It'll be Sinsu Chu, Elvis Andrus, Mazzara, Beltre, Rufin Odor, Profar, Gallo, Chirinos, and the Shields batting for Texas. So just looking at that matchup right there, I think the Sox, they're having a really good state in their rebuild so far. Just looking at some of the news in the current organization rebuild, they're talking a lot about Eloy Jimenez. Now, there's a lot of speculation that we might see Eloy and Kopech both come up at some time of the season, even before September call-ups. But Rick Hahn's taking a very smart approach to this. He's not rushing a lot of his players. He said, unless they force the issue, we're not going to bring them up too soon. And just looking at numbers of a budding superstar that the White Sox signed out of Cuba as a Cuban defector last year, Luis Robert set a career high with 4 hits and a performance for the Winston-Salem Dash as he got bumped up to single A just a week ago. He went 4 for 6, a double, and 3 RBIs, and he is rated as the White Sox number 3 prospect and is now number 25 on the top 100 MLB top 100 prospect pipelines list. And just another congratulations on this Facebook Live for the Chicago White Sox. Number 4th overall pick this past draft this season by the White Sox, Nick Madrigal, just won the College World Series with Oregon State University. So congratulations to the Beavers and our future infielder of the future, Nick Madrigal. So just talking about the Sox here, they're having a really good, they're having an interesting year two in the rebuild so far. The bullpen's playing pretty well. Daniel Palka's a nice surprise. Just looking at some of the developments in the minors, they made 16 upgrades for their players, upgrading them to AA or AAA. So it's really exciting to see that. And just looking at some of these numbers, it's, as a Sox fan, as a spectator, it's really incredible to see numbers like what Eloy Jimenez has done since he's been in the White Sox system. He has 23 home runs in 107 games, which is 35 home runs per 162 games. And, as he joined the team via trade that sent Jose Quintana last season to the Chicago Cubs. Now going into the other side of town, the Chicago Cubs are going to be facing the Minnesota Twins, who we just saw earlier ago finish the series off in Chicago. On the south side, though, with the White Sox, and they are currently in action at Wrigley Field for the first game of the series. And the Minnesota Twins are trailing by 1 run as the Cubs lead 6-5 with 8 hits and 2 errors for the Northsiders. The Twins, with 3 runs in the second and 2 in the fourth, have 5 runs and 7 hits. Matt McGill is pitching currently for the Minnesota Twins, and Ben Zobrist is up the bat for the Northsiders. He is 0 for 2 so far. Just looking at this series right now, I think it'll be a really interesting one. The Twins have always been a wild card, a team that can get near the playoffs or at least a wild card like last year, and just that team that's always there in the middle of the pack trying to fight for that wild card spot, or they're just really close. So it's just really cool to see what this team could do, in the division. And for baseball, it makes it really exciting for, as a White Sox fan to see that type of competition you face. Like the Minnesota Twins, they put their best players out there. I know a player I've watched for Minnesota this year and last year that I even had on a fantasy team, Eddie Rosario in the left field. That guy could really hit the ball, a really solid outfielder. He got really good at building, a good baseball man and former player and all mileage. So that's pretty cool to see as well. So, as much as I know about the Cubs right now from what I've been hearing lately, they've had injuries. They paid Chow Chatwood all this money. They're paying, Yu Darvish that astounding contract there for 5 years. Now injuries will happen, but they're facing a lot of issues with their, starting rotation, their bullpen, the injury to Brandon Morrow, and some of their hitting. So hasn't been producing completely the way that a lot of fans would hope at this point in the year. But it's still going to be a long year. Like what we saw, Ben Zobrist didn't start off too well early along with Wilson Contreras. But after a while, after a few weeks, they start hitting the bat. They start getting out on base a little more, bringing in some runs, and it's just been helping the Chicago Cubs do the best things that they need to do. And I'm going to recognize the other people joining our video. My old neighbor, Maggot Eye Shoot, my old apartment on 701 North Lanier Court. So good to have you there, buddy. My good old buddy from the trumpet section at Memorial Junior High in band, and TF South, Thornton Fractional South High School in Lansing, Sam Salome. And hey, good to see you, Miss Gleason. Good to have you on the show. So a lot of interesting things coming up for the Chicago Cubs, and like the next episode, which I'm hoping to get after the 4th of July put together. I got to celebrate the 4th of July the right patriotic way, like with my family, like you all will. So earlier on here in this episode, I want to give you guys a happy 4th of July early on for next week, and please enjoy it with your families. Be safe. Have hot dogs, burgers on the grill, nice and fresh. Enjoy the fireworks shows you guys go to, and just make some memories. That's something I like to do as a sports fan, and just as somebody that believes family is the most important in life. Just an interesting thing to pass on to all of you that are going to see this video, that are on right now. And I know I'm not perfect, but I know I've learned in 22 years and have been lucky to learn that you live each day to the fullest, no matter what happens, whatever obstacles come your way. And something like the 4th of July, there's a lot of memories people will have in their past, and they want to try and carry those through the future. And when it's coming up on the 4th, we honor our country, the people that serve and protect it, and our country's birthday. And I love being a citizen in a great country with these freedoms that we have, the safety, courtesy of our armed service men and women and first responders, police, fire department, and Homeland Security and FBI and so forth. But just a happy 4th of July earlier at this point, even though it's next week. And it's the age of graduation parties, and I'm going to be – my family's hosting one here tomorrow, so that's why I had to bump up the 2:30 time to 6:15 today, because I'm helping my family clean the house. We're having a graduation party for my 2 little sisters that are fraternal twins, Emily and Claire Farrell. So proud to see them graduate high school the way they did, one at number 2 and one at number 7 in their top 25 of their class. And it's going to be really warm, though. It's a heat index of 105 to 115, so that's going to be interesting. And I'm going to go into what I promised you guys I would talk about. I'm going to do a little bit of Chicago Bears talk. And looking at the current news for the Chicago Bears, there's a video that has gained a lot of attention so far. It's Taylor Gabriel. He made an impressive one-handed catch at a practice, and that guy is a really good player. He has done a really good job, in his time with the Atlanta Falcons, and he's going to carry that to the Chicago Bears. Matt Nagy is just going to have so many weapons and players he can plug into different spots in his offense. It's going to be really exciting. Mitch Trubisky will have the weapons he needs. And I think the Bears, now a lot of people, especially in Vegas, people bet in Vegas and, try and see where each NFL team will stand in their season next year. They're predicting the Bears' chances here in Vegas, Super Bowl 80-1, conference 40-1, and division 12-1 for winning the division. But I think in the Matt Nagy era, year one, it's going to be a little stretched the way I approach it, but I think that they're going to have at least 9 to 11 wins, over under 10. So I think that's where this team can go. I think Matt Nagy's very underrated with this team right now. A lot of people say he's going to be great, but they're not thinking about as much the ceiling impact he can have in his first year as a head coach. And the Bears have a lot of good players they've run through the draft and undrafted free agency. And just looking at this team right now, some of the reports that are out, it's really exciting to see where this team's going to go. And they can only go up. Now, they're almost done with this rebuild. They got a new coach that's going to help them get even better. So I think this Chicago Bears team is going to stun a lot of fans. It's going to make Bears fans excited to go to games even more once again. And there's not going to be a lot of tickets left, I don't think. I think it's going to be a full house, hopefully. So I promised as well. Now, we're going to near the end of the episode here. I'm going to cut it to 30 minutes today. So whoever has checked this out now and will check it out later, it's a pleasure having you guys tune in and take time to watch this video. And please continue to follow the show as it continues to grow this summer, back in the fall. And good old Cade Heather from the Vedette back down in Bloomington Normal. How you doing, buddy? You did by the way, Cade, if the listeners want to know, did a really good article for the Vedette on the new former Chicago Bulls and current Illinois State Redbird assistant coach Chris Duhon, who is joining the Illinois State men's basketball team staff under well-known, I think one of the best coaches in the Missouri Valley Conference for men's basketball, Mr. Dan Muller. And little birdie, I'm trying to get an interview with Chris Duhon. Hopefully I can get that put together, as well as the new baseball coach that was hired, former Purdue pitching coach, Holmes. So I think those coaches are going to really help the Redbird teams a lot. The men's team doing really good so far. And a thumbs up from Cade Heather. There we go. Got that thumbs up. And my cousin Sarah is on our Facebook Live. How you doing, Sarah? Good to see you. Hope Uncle Jeff and all of them are doing well. Please give them my best from here. Can't wait to see you guys, hopefully at the party tomorrow. And it's going to be exciting for Redbird sports. There's a lot of excitement. You check into social media and you see, how the teams are going in their off season. I have a few friends that are athletes on the various teams, and they're sharing with me how the team has progressed in the summer. We actually have a point guard, one of the guards on the men's basketball team, playing for the Swedish team, Elijah Clarence, overseas. So best of luck to you, Elijah, on your overseas play this summer. Just continue to develop your game the good way you have, and can't wait to see you back in Redbird Red next season for the Redbirds. So we will be talking Redbird baseball, any Redbird sport. We're going to be talking off-season updates next week, along with White Sox baseball and the Chicago Cubs. Bulls off-season as a free agency frenzy begins this coming Sunday at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. More Will Sports movie moments, of course, will continue to come moving forward. And I'm working on a pet project that's going to give listeners a lot more accessibility to the show, the social media pages, and the broadcast work that I, as the creator and host of this show, have done on my own at my time at WZND and class at Illinois State. So that'll be – I'm not going to reveal it yet. It will be revealed on a special video when it's put together. It's still something I'm working out, and it's part of it's for you guys. So I'm also going to announce that next week after the surprise of Mark Shanowski, now I wouldn't say it was a surprise. Mr. Shanowski is a very well-respected individual in Chicago sports, but I understood that he was busy, so there was a chance he wouldn't have returned my phone call for the guest appearance on the podcast last week for episode 13. And it was just an honor to have both him and David Hall on, and as well as some of the other guests that will come on and have been on past, present, and coming up in the future, it's only going to make this show better. It's only going to bring more flavor and experienced perspectives along with the good original perspectives guest co-hosts will bring. And I'm going to have one of my former coworkers. He graduated from Illinois State in the spring of 2017, and I've stayed in touch with various close friends and good friends that I've made at school that have left. It's Mike O'Donnell, who will be featured in a guest appearance interview on the upcoming episode 14 next week. As I mentioned, it'll be before or after July 4th. I haven't really decided yet. And my guest co-host, he got on vacation for work, so my dad, Brian Farlow, will be returning for his first guest appearance in the summer. We were hoping to get him on for the Bulls one last week, but he had a lot of things going on. He was just so excited to come on next week, so it'll be good to have my father, who helped get me to this point in my career and gave me the continued support along with the rest of my family and close friends and loved ones and those around me. He's a big part of the reason I'm at this point. So just a thank you to my dad, and I can't wait to have him and other great co-hosts on as well. So that's, as I promised on episode 13 in the closing part of the episode, this is how I'm going to announce my upcoming guests in the episodes, what we're going to talk about, because the way summer can be for all of us, it's kind of hard to have that set in the future there. So that's my announcement for it. So this is Will Farlow with Will's Fifth Quarter Special. Pleasure to be doing another Facebook Live video. Thank you to the people that viewed it today: Sam Solong, Mrs. Gleason, Kate Heather, Lanier Courts, Ernest Pierre, my grandma Maureen Farlow, Sarah Easter, and my sister Katie Farlow. And Katie, thanks for revealing my nickname to the folks there. She calls me Will, a little fun childhood nickname. So long from Will's Fifth Quarter Special. A happy early 4th of July next week. You guys can hear me on episode 14 next week of Will's Fifth Quarter Special. Join the conversation on our social media about the NBA free agency, anything you want to talk about sports-wise, favorite 4th of July memories, watching a sports game. Share it with us. So long from Will's Fifth Quarter Special. Have a good one, guys.